Frog God, Frog God.
Hi everyone, welcome to Frog God Chat Channel, and today we're going to be talking with Edwin Nagy above me, and he is the master of many behind the scenes things, which we'll get a peek into behind the curtain today. Hi Edwin.
Hello.
Nice to finally meet you. We've talked a
Yes,
little bit, but it's
yeah,
all
we've
been...
had a little chats here and there, but it's good to finally talk face to face-ish.
Yes, it is. I'm Alice Peng, aka Lala Twiddle, and below me is Brandon Powers.
Howdy, everybody. And Edwin, like Alice said, it's nice to meet you. I look forward to dissecting your brain a little bit on this Frog God Games and some of the behind the scenes stuff. I hear that you're kind of in charge or part of the team that's dealing with the house style for Frog God.
Yeah, specifically the 5th edition style, how we make that work.
So, what can you tell us about that?
Well, I think the big piece, sort of the top level, is trying to find the middle ground between making sure our material is familiar and accessible to 5e audiences who have an expectation based on WotC's material, and keeping true to sort of Frog God's reputation and style as much as we have one, in terms of the types of adventure and the types of things that happen in those adventures, and also how do we keep the feel of a 1st edition or 3rd edition game as we bring it into 5th edition, and how do we deal with wording, and it's sort of at all levels, right? There's today I spent a bunch of time fixing the sentences that talks about stat block multi-attacks, which is pretty boring. But you may recall that some of the early creatures that came out for 5th edition said something like, the so-and-so makes 2 attacks, period. It makes 1 attack with its spear and 1 attack with its fist or whatever, which to me seems long-winded and sort of unnecessarily heavy when we can say the so-and-so makes 1 spear attack and 1 fist attack and be done with it all. And it says exactly, but the trick is that sometimes those extra bits of words are important, right? So sometimes there's a subtle piece in there that we need to make sure stays there because it actually changes the mechanics. And so writing that line between what wording is rules versus what wording is style or flavor or fun, is sort of one of the things I enjoy getting into as I'm looking at a lot of the adventures that we're bringing over from other editions, or even if it's a new adventure, it might be written in Swords and Wizardry, and then we move it into 5th edition, or vice versa.
So how does one get into the type of work that you do? I know you have also recruited some people to write. We'll talk about that soon.
So I don't know how people in general, I mean, obviously we all get into it by gaming.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, the way I got into Frog God was Zach was not part of Frog God. He was doing his lesser known Kickstarters. And I sent him a list of, so I was a backer, and he had released the PDF, but it hadn't yet gone to the printer. And I said, this is for Whisper and Venom. And I said, hey, here's some things you might consider fixing before it goes to the printer. And that conversation eventually turned into me co-writing with him for Death and Taxes, which turned into me following him when Lesser Gnome got sort of bought out by Frog God. So I went in on his coattails completely, and only because I was being one of those annoying audience members that says, hey, you got a few typos here, maybe you could fix them. But I think it was the fact that I was willing to do work quickly, and when I said I would get it done, and that it was reasonably accurate and consistent. I think the 5e specific stuff has been a huge learning curve for me. I look back at some of the stuff I did early on, and it's crap. I mean, I've really been learning to understand the game better, sort of to get a feel for how all the things work together, the different rules affect each other. I've worked with some really good people who've also thought deeply about 5th edition. and that's helped me a lot. So I've been trying to recruit either people who know 5e well or who can be trained to do the work with me. And that's always educational when people ask questions and do things different ways. And we think, oh, okay, well, you did it this way. That works. Is it better? Is it worse? How does it affect the player? How does it affect the game? But yeah, I guess that's how I got in, was sending some typos.
Well, that's awesome. And by all means, you can have a great manuscript, but if it hasn't gone through good editing, it is so hard to get through. And so, by all means, that is really valuable. I've done the same thing where I've just kind of helped out some people when I was able to get a preview copy of something, and just I'd go through and be making notes, and I end up with pages of just like this, and so. What system is yours if 5e isn't the one that you're innately familiar with to start with?
What system is mine? I mean, I started on first edition. I have played, I think at this point, I've probably played, the two systems I've probably played the most at this point are 5th edition and Call of Cthulhu. I've played, a fair amount of Swords and Wizardry. I skipped, not intentionally. I've since played 2nd edition and 3.5 and Pathfinder, but I skipped them. I was not playing much role-playing game during those, I guess, decades. I came back in just as 4th was wrapping up, so I played some 4th, and then 5th came out, and so I've been playing that for the last 6 years. But also, I mean, I still play 1st edition. I just finished up playing in a 2nd edition campaign, which was pretty fun. So yeah, I think 5th edition is the one I know best at this point, because I have not been thinking as deeply about 1st edition and the Swords and Wizardry and its relatives, except as a player recently. Like, I haven't really thought about them as much as a editor or a mechanic translator.
Gotcha. And, 1st edition, 2nd edition, they're very similar. I used to play with people all the time that they had never converted over to 2nd edition, is what they'd say. They'd come in with their 1st edition characters to games, and they were able to play seamlessly with us. And, so.
No, I remember, I feel like I think when we were playing as kids, we didn't know what we were playing. I mean, I think we had some basic rules. We had mostly 1st edition, advanced, AD&D, but I think there was some 2nd edition stuff and certainly some stuff from Dragon Magazine that, hey, this looks really cool. Can I play the Cavalier or whatever it was? And, it's just sort of a hodgepodge. I think now that we can look back and see the divisions, then we can start making categories. But before you have all that, it's just like, well, this is all D&D, and I'm just going to pile it on top of each other and see what happens.
Hey, as long as everybody's having a good time. What brought you back into the hobby after so many years?
A friend of mine who invited me to Carnage Con with him in Vermont. And I went, so it was a weekend of gaming and had a great time. And then I realized that the online gaming world, so this was, G Plus was active, and Roll20 was starting out. So there were ways to play with people that were not in your town. And I got really hooked on it. So I played hundreds of hours. I think, at one point I was probably in 6 games, a week, or not necessarily, some of them were bi-weekly, but I was in 6 or 7 games, at a time. So I played a lot online for a year or two, and then I've tapered that down a little bit. Although it's coming back up these past few months. And then as I've gotten more involved in some of the business side of the hobby, obviously I take some of that time away from actually playing, and spend it on what is now work. Seems a little unfortunate, but someone's got to do it.
Well, we talked about the fact that you are one of the people behind the scenes. And as I understand it, you get to grab a lot of different people that you see that are potentially good for writing projects for Frog God, and you've recruited a few of our more recent pieces. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and an upcoming piece.
That's been super fun. Sorry, what?
And an upcoming piece that you told us that will be coming.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess we've been sort of pushing the idea of doing some holiday modules and starting with. So I was not part of How Orcus Stole Christmas, I think is what it was. But that one was sort of we did that and it worked well. And we thought, hey, we should do some more holiday stuff because it's kind of fun. It's a way to have something a little more humorous or a little more personal, maybe. So I was. We got Elizabeth to do For the Love of Valentine, and I think you spoke with her. I enjoyed that interview, so that was fun.
I GM'd her module as well.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm jealous. That's awesome. And
it was a lot of fun. It was a 4-hour slot, so I didn't get to do the last encounter, but because of that, we modified what was going on to make it so that there was an appropriate end and they still had a final fight experience. I won't spoil what was done though. So
sure. Awesome. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, everyone had a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, I like. Obviously, all this stuff is way better when someone actually plays it. That's sort of the goal of it. I mean, the writing's fun, the editing's fun, all that's fun, but it's more exciting to hear. Hey, look, you got played. We had Blight of the Moonglow Glade, which is a great module. I got to run that a few times at the Frog God Game Day, and we had John Hook ran that as well. We just finished By Dawn's Early Light. Moonglow Glade is Arbor Day, one of the great holidays. We've got to celebrate that. By Dawn's Early Light just finished up and is coming out as American Independence Day celebration, maybe.
Homage.
A nod to, yes, an homage to. And then just yesterday, John Hook has agreed to write our next Christmas adventure, which is tentatively called Orcus on 34th Level. And he tells me, we were talking about some of the creatures that are going to be in there, and I think there's going to be some good puns and some good humor. There's a candy factory going on. So I think I'm looking forward to it. So we'll be getting that out. I think that'll go out in November, and I just ordered a map for it, but we don't have any. It's still basically conceptual at the point. So.
Awesome. John's a great guy that we get to game with every once in a while. We've been going through Bard's Gate in 5th edition, just the first of the modules there, and he's one of the players. He's playing a drunken alchemist in the group. And it's just been a good time where we've got Pex, him, Alice is another player, and then Steven is the last of the players. And we are only able to get together every once in a while for it, but we've been having a great time. And he's awesome to play with, and he's awesome to talk to.
He is. I ran. I think I did an attempt at doing a actual play. It was a couple of years ago. I ran a bunch of Bard's Gate stuff, and we had a good time. I like that town. Fun to see how a city adventure works.
Yeah, it's an interesting module so far. We are looking forward to playing it some more tonight with any luck. Cross our fingers. Knock on wood.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, life is that way, isn't it, sometimes?
Absolutely.
And by the time that this video comes out, the conversation that you had with John will probably have been a couple weeks ago because we record these ahead of time. But yeah, that's
Do you
really
have any
cool.
good stories about your play experience or behind the scenes stuff with Frog God?
No.
No.
Oh, come on.
That sounds like somebody who's had to sign, the non-disclosure that this event never officially occurred.
Bill never steps on any tables.
We did, yeah. I don't know, but the problem is I'm not good at remembering stories. I mean,
That's okay.
I'm sure there have been fun stories that have occurred, and I've definitely had fun playing with these folks. I've played in Skeeter's game, and he played in. I ran a Call of Cthulhu game off book at North Texas a few years ago, that definitely went wildly off the rails. And we did have one of the things I really enjoy for running games is if for a short game or an intro to a longer one, but is to have sort of the players show up, make some characters, and then find something in their character description that sparks an adventure. And so this was again a late night off book thing at a game convention, and they started talking about their characters, and they were just a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. And somehow they ended up searching for a lost recipe book for some cannibal cookery, and it was just a pretty wild hoot. And I don't even know where this adventure came from. Like, we were just, just like, we're gonna sit down, play some D&D, we'll make something up. Okay, you're in a town. Oh, what's your character? Oh, I see. Okay, well, in that case. And so they had to break out of town and go, which you don't normally. You normally have to break into town, but they had to break out of town and then go search. And we ended up in a tower. There might have been some alcohol involved. And the usual thing. They had to fight. They got in trouble. Nothing crazy.
No, by all means, some of those games where you're not really certain where they came from. We did one using the Supers Revised book by Hazard Studios, and it was the first time that we were playing it. I'd read it, and it was Alice and a friend of ours, and it was like, oh well, we have these options, and also I just read this book. We could try it out. There's some random character creation at the back. And so they both roll up. It's a superhero game. They both roll up an android origin in it. And so Alice comes up with this great idea that they're like these the faulty spy bots or something that were kind of sent out to the scrap heap. And so they're still trying to kind of act on that programming and such. And we had just a fantastic time with it.
That's awesome.
And I had no physicality to it. And so, but I had shape-shifting, polymorphing. And so my vision was, that I was sent in, I would be like made into a coffee table or something. And it was like, must stay coffee table. And they would put a book on me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so heavy. Must stay coffee table. And they would put their keys on me or something. And all of a sudden I'd fall apart. And they're like, good, junk scrap. So yeah, it was really a lot of fun. And it was just this one shot randomly. And we ended up doing I ended up taking it and turning it into an adventure for another group on.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but yeah. Well, is there anything else you would like to let our Frog God fans know about you and what you do and about Frog God in general?
Sure. So I guess the other thing I do for Frog God, or the other thing I'm trying to do for Frog God is be our grown-up. Frog God has grown over the last few years. We're producing a lot more books. We're trying to be a little more inclusive and open and bringing people in and getting people to the gaming table. But one of the things that goes with that is trying to get a little more organized. And so that's the other non-sexy piece that I do really is trying to bring some process and some management structure to us. That of course is not always smooth, which is fine, because I think one of the critical pieces is keeping the creativity going, not crushing creativity by bringing in management. And so I think letting the creative folks still bubble up all their crazy stuff while keeping the books coming out on time-ish is so that's the other piece that I guess I do with them. And that's been fun, actually. I've enjoyed that because it is a neat place to try to look at what the processes are and sort of get in under the hood and see how gaming books happen. So
it's a juggle and a balance to try and make sure that everything.
Yeah, well, especially because, of course, I'm part of the problem is, when I'm working on a project, I don't want anyone messing with me, and I don't want all these systems getting in my way. But when I'm stepping back and trying to look overall, it's like, oh well, we've got to be organized. We've got to do this and this and this. So it's good to see both sides of that. Of I've got a book that I want to get done. What are the steps? I'm working with Elizabeth on Valentine. All I want to do is talk with her about the story, and don't worry about the deadline. No, that's all right. It's all right, fine. We're going to make this thing awesome. Let's just work on, But then we've got the system in place as well. We're going to produce a book for Valentine's Day. That means 6 weeks before that we have to be at this stage, and sort of trying to balance all that stuff has been fun. Has been a learning experience also. So I've enjoyed that.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really had
good to talk to you.
I'm really glad I got to talk to you too. It's really cool to just get a little peek behind what, I'm one of the creative side people, so I don't get to talk to people on your side of the table all that often. But it's really cool.
I'm looking forward to your next creative efforts. I've not yet been made privy to it. So.
Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it will disappear into the ether before then. Who knows? Thank you for coming on, Brandon.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to say before we close out?
Oh, thanks so much for coming out. It's awesome to get a peek behind the curtain, and it was a joy to talk to you, especially commuting from as far away as you are. I can see,
quite a haul.
In from outer space. By all means, those online Roll20 games are a big boon for you.
Essential. Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey Frog God fans, thank you so much for watching us today. Do you want to see more content? Make sure you subscribe and click that little bell button to be notified.
Don't forget to leave a comment about the content that you want to see on the channel. And if you want to keep up with Frog God Game releases, check out the links in the description below for Facebook, Twitter, and Discord.
And if you want to see more content from Brandon and myself, check us out on Babies with Knives podcast, where we focus on character creation, crash courses, and actual plays for a wide variety of tabletop role-playing games.
And everybody, remember, have fun in the pond.